Hey there, everyone. Welcome to week number 7. Sorry, I'm a little late posting this on Monday. I've been trying to get the screencast thing to work on my Mac computer, and yeah, it's quite frustrating. So let's jump into week 7. So what I'll do is I'll get your week 6 stuff. Hopefully, the majority of it graded today, a little later today, and get you that feedback back to you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out. Week 7, we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about legal and ethical issues inside the organization. And some people say, okay, Tony, explain to me the difference between legal and ethical. Well, there's really not a difference. The difference is the law is the formal thing that they can bring you up on. You know, they can prosecute you, they can hold you accountable. The laws typically follow ethical behavior, right? And ethical behavior should go above and beyond what you would consider, legal and ethical. The whole moral of my guidance and the whole moral of the story is you should always do in business the right thing. And you should always treat people with mutual respect. When you do business and trade, you should do that ethically. You should also do that legally. If you don't want to read about negative press in your local newspaper, then the best thing to do is to not do it. So if you have to question yourself, think, is this the right thing? And the minute you question yourself, if something is ethical or legal, really step back and think, am I doing the right thing, right? Same thing with your cosmetics company. Lots of companies get themselves into different situations. Now, we all know about the financial frauds that brought on what's called the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, Arthur Andersen, Enron, WorldCom, Tyco. All these firms basically were getting audited, but not really audited. They were overstating revenues and taking home big bonuses and taking money out of shareholders' pockets and things of that nature. That's one kind of fraud and ethical violation in business, but there are also some other frauds. If you can think of a few of those, and I'll also there's a way I can put links in the video. I'll see if I can get that done for you. But Volkswagen is a good example, right? So a few years ago, Volkswagen basically created something called the diesel dupe or Dieselgate. And what happened here? is the EPA in the U.S. basically said you can sell diesel engines. They have to meet certain environmental standards before you can sell them. And Volkswagen came out, so it's the Volkswagen AG, the auto group, so it's Volkswagen, it's Porsche, it's Audi, came out with clean diesels, right? They basically said, look, we have these diesel engines, they meet the standards, they pass the test, everything is great. And they were allowed to sell them. Well, come to find out, they had actually installed some software along with one or two of their subcontractors, one being Bosch Automotive, that basically duped the test process, right? So when you plugged in the emissions equipment, the engine completely acted in compliance, but in reality, when it was unplugged, the engine was not a clean diesel; it was a dirty diesel. So they did this. They got into a lot of trouble. They had to buy back cars. It was a massive fiasco, if you don't recall this one in the news. And you have to question yourself. It wasn't one person that went bad inside of Volkswagen. It was a lot of people, and the whole process of legal compliance and ethical compliance inside of Volkswagen, and also their subcontractors like Bosch Automotive, just melted down. So sometimes you can understand, well, I've got one person that's an issue. That's one thing, but in this instance, a lot of people had a meltdown. So that's an interesting story. If you ever get a chance to follow up on it, if you haven't spent any time with it, maybe take a look at it. Now, switching gears, this past week I was watching on Netflix Sometimes I'll go through and I'll watch some of their documentaries. And I had heard about this situation, but I hadn't paid a lot of attention to the situation. But there was this lovely lady. Her name was Elizabeth Holmes. I don't know if you know who Elizabeth Holmes is. Very young lady. She started this company when she was 19. It's called Theranos. She grew the value over a few years from basically nothing to a $9 billion company. For an early 20-year-old individual, that's remarkable. Now, what happened to that company? I'll show you. This is this is the fraud indictment for that company. So, if you're ever in business and one of these shows up at the front door, it's never a good thing. You're going to have a bad day that day. There's no doubt about it. But what happened with this situation is she came out with a testing device that was going to test blood. And it was basically, if you want to think about it, it's almost like a diabetes type test. But not only do you do sugar testing, but that small sample of blood was able to run thousands of blood tests, supposedly. And she had this machine, and it was supposed to go into all the local, Walgreens, so you could go into Walgreens, and with a small prick of your finger, they stuck it in this machine, and poof, they could find out all of your issues. Which, quite honestly, being someone that hates needles myself, it's quite an interesting situation, right? But I know nothing about the science behind medical tests, but you kind of have to question, whether we're at that point in science that this would actually work just yet for a massive amount of testing. But she sold this concept and had all these investments, and come to find out it was a fraud. And in fact, they actually ran the fraud. You would go to a few Walgreens. I think they kicked it off in Arizona. Not only would they collect the small sample, but on most people they also collected a regular sample of blood as well. And then they were doing the actual test for the most part, but they were doing it on Siemens type equipment, that she had bought, that the company had bought to actually do the testing. So it's very interesting on how she defrauded people. And if you watch the documentary, you kind of see the fraud progression, right? She was almost ran that company like a very close dictatorship. And then she surrounded herself by people, that honestly should have kind of known better and kind of seen through that veil a lot sooner. So if you get a chance to watch that documentary, I think it's on Netflix. It's an interesting story, and it's when you talk about current event, she's up for trial, and quite honestly, she needs to be locked away for quite some time, because not only did she steal money from people, she also endangered people's lives as well with the way she was conducting some of those medical tests. All right, so that's my current event for the week. So this week you have three things due. You have an executive summary. So what you're going to do there is you're going to draft an executive summary outlining the importance, and I can't speak today, importance of triple bottom line in today's business environment. Again, focus around ethics and legal. Throw TBL in there, but also, focus on why it's important to be ethical, why you have an ethical framework, why you have a whistleblower telephone line, some sort of reporting type mechanisms for people that need to funnel information, and it be an anonymous source or something of that nature. The second one is you'll also do a written memo assignment to address one legal and one ethical concern raised by the legal team of the health and beauty company. So look in the details here. It'll give you some legal and ethical concerns. Make sure you address at least one legal and one ethical. And then the last and final thing is your video check-in. Again, there's a couple of topics you need to cover there. Keep it kind of to the recommended time. If you go way long, if everybody goes way long, it takes me quite some time to get back to you. So, otherwise, I hope you have a great week. And as always, reach out to me if you have any questions or need any help. Thanks. We'll be in touch. Cheers. Take care. Bye bye.